Grade 8, good morning, Miss. I'm Islam Al-Umar, your math teacher in Taqarrub International School, and today we will speak, as you can see here, about, lesson 5 from this chapter, which is factoring x squared plus bx plus c. Now at the end of this lesson you will be able to factor trinomials of the form x squared plus bx plus c. If you remember, we talked about factoring, and we said that if let's say multiplying is going to the right direction, factoring is exactly in the opposite way, in the opposite road. It's going to the left. Because actually we can say about factoring is like dividing the polynomial that I have it into basics or into parts like binomials, monomial and trinomial, monomial and binomial and binomial. Okay, let's say divide it into smaller binomials or trinomials or monomials or polynomials. Now here in this lesson actually, and lesson 6, we will speak about almost the same cases for factoring. The only difference is the coefficient of x squared. Let's first look at the trinomial itself. It's a trinomial if we want to classify it, and it's the second degree, or the it's the degree 2, which is actually quadratic polynomial or a quadratic trinomial. In factoring a quadratic trinomial, we have two cases, okay? One which the coefficient of x squared is 1, which is this lesson, and lesson 6 when the coefficient of x squared is not 1. Now, what do we mean by the coefficient? If you remember, we said that if a constant or a number is multiplying by a variable, we can say about this number or this constant, I say about it coefficient of the variable that is multiplied by it. Okay, so for example, when I say bx, x is the variable, b, which is number, constant, like 3, like -5, like -2/6. It's actually a constant. I call it, sorry, it's a number. I call it here coefficient. Coefficient of x. Here, coefficient of x squared, it's what? For sure, it's 1. Because you cannot see any number multiplying by x squared, so for sure, it's 1. Now, c, I call it constant, because there is no variable. It's not a product of a variable and a number, so I call it constant. Now, when I want to factor, let's see, coefficient of, when I want to factor, a trinomial that has a quadratic, it's a quadratic trinomial which has a degree of 2, I actually should follow rules. To know these rules, to learn these rules in an easy way, let's find, for example, together how I can multiply two binomials, okay? X plus 3 times x plus 7. How to multiply it? If you notice, miss, I will using, for example, the inner and the outer, the FOIL method. I start with the, I start with the inner, which is the starting, okay? It will be x times x, it will be x squared. Then inside it, I have, as you can see here, I will multiply x times 7 and plus 3 times x, okay? Now here, it will be x plus 7 times 3 plus x, it will be 3 times x, it will be 10x. Okay, and then I will take the last or the outer, it will be 3 times 7, it will be 21. Okay, so use any method you want, just find the answer. You will notice that it will be like this, x squared plus 10x plus 21. As we can see here, the coefficient of x squared is 1, coefficient of x is 10, coefficient or the constant here, it's 21. So you can notice that multiplying these two binomials give us this quadratic trinomial. So it's easy for me to, when I want to, factor the trinomial, to put in my mind that when I want to find the constant, I multiply the outer numbers, I multiply the last numbers, I multiply the constants or the second term in the binomial. Okay? If I ask you to factor, let's start immediately with factoring. Okay? If I ask you, for example, like problem 1 here, to factor x squared plus 8x plus 15. First of all, I want you to know that as a final result, you should have two binomials. So for sure, you will open two parentheses, okay? Or, two parentheses for the first binomial and two parentheses for the second binomial. The product will be, the final answer will be a product of two binomials. Then, what you will do, miss? You will factor x squared into x and x. So you will put in the first, two parentheses x. In the second parentheses, you will put x. Then you will look at the last term in the trinomial, which is actually the product, okay, the constant. You have to find the factors of 15 and the sum of the factors of 15. Why? Because actually I want you to focus here, because this will help you to decide which two factors you will write them as the second term in the two binomials, or the outer, let's see, or the last in the two binomials. Okay, so how can I decide what to choose here? First of all, I have to put this table. First, you have to put it, using paper and your pencil and your paper. Last, you will use it, or you will make it in your mind mentally. You will do that mentally. But let's do it first using table to remember or to practice how to do it. In the first column, as you can see, you should put all of the factors of 15. 15 could be 1 times 15 and could be 3 times 5, right? Is there any other two factors? No. We list in the first column all of the factors, okay, as pairs. So it will be 1 and 15 and 3 and 5. The second column, what you will do, you will find the sum of these factors. The sum of these factors. Now, miss, how is that? Now, the sum of these factors will be 1 plus 15, it will be 16. Okay, 3 plus 5, it will be 8. Now, look, miss, focus with me. The sum of these two factors, it must be the middle term or the mid-term in the trinomial. Yani here in the basic trinomial that I want to factor it, the mid-term here, okay, it must be when you add these two factors together, they must give you, the mid-term, which is actually here 8x. Which of these, two sums give you 8? For sure, it will be, it will be the second one. It will be 3 and 5. So what you will do in the second term, for the second term, you will put here 3 and 5. In the first, you will put x and x. In the second, you will put 3 and 5. What about the sign? I want you to focus with me, miss. About the sign, it's very important for you to notice that I have two signs in the trinomial. The first sign, the sign of the midterm, and the last sign, the sign of the constant. Now, you have to look first at the last sign, which is the sign of the constant. The sign of the constant, it tells you that if you have same sign or different sign. If it's positive, it means that you have the same sign. If it's negative, this means that you have different signs, one positive, one negative in the two binomials. Since it's positive, so for sure I will have the same sign. Which sign decide if this sign is positive or negative? Actually, the sign of the second term, which is the sign of 8x. Okay, so the sign of 8x, the second term, will decide if these two signs, positive or negative. How I know that these two signs are the same signs? Since, miss, the last sign is positive for the trinomial. So here, since it's positive, so for sure the two signs positive. Okay? So I want to repeat it, but by solving, as you can see here, the problem in this in got it, I will repeat again in solving it. For example, they ask us to factor the trinomial x squared, okay, plus 11x, okay, plus 24. It's r, but sorry, I prefer actually to use always x, okay? Now, what I will do here, they ask us to factor, so they want for us the basic binomials that multiplied by each other. So for sure, I will open two parentheses, as you can see here. I will factor x squared or divide it into x here, x here. Then I will use a table here to find the products of 24. So I know that 24 for sure, or for example, it's actually here. It's 1 times 24. It's, it's 3 times 8. It's, 2 times 12. And as you can see here, what else 24? It's 6 times 4. It's 6 times 4. 6 times 4. Okay? So I have 4 options. I know my options are, I have a lot of options. They are 4 options, but it will be easier for me to decide if I know that if I first put the signs, take the signs in consideration. First, I have to look at this sign here. Since it's positive, so I know that the two signs are the same. Not positive, but not negative. Knowing that it's positive or negative, it's not decided by the last sign. It's decided by the sign of the midterm, okay, or the term in the middle. So I just know that they are the same. How to know that they are the same, or they are same positive or same negative? By looking at the sign in the middle, okay? Since it's positive, so I have two same positive signs. Two same, because this is, this is positive, so they are the same. Because it's positive for the midterm, so it's positive. Now, so I want to find some of these two terms, some of these pair of factors will give me the middle, okay, or the midterm, or the coefficient of x. Now, 1 plus 24, it's 25, it's not working. 3 plus 8, it's 11. So I can say, put here 3, put here 8. Now put here 3, here 8, here 8, here, or here 3, here 8. So there is no difference because the sign, it's positive. So there is no difference. Like this, miss, we factor this trinomial, quadratic trinomial into two binomials, as you can see. Miss, actually, this is the basic things I want you to learn from this lesson. In the class, inshallah, we will solve together many exercises. This lesson, especially this lesson, needs you always to practice, to exercise. So we will do in the other video another exercises about it.